Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Helen Macmillan, and welcome to Unstoppable Success, creating a clear plan of action for a profitable 2015. If you're here, chances are you are a business owner, or you're either a seasoned business owner, or you're getting ready to start a business, or you are early in the stages of your business. Either way, or maybe you're just someone who is wanting to create more profit, more income, flow more income into your life in 2015, so that you can fund the dreams, right? Because that's why we want more income. That's why we want more profit and more success. It's all about how it makes us feel. So we are here today, and we're going to be I'm going to be sharing with you the top 3 things that allowed me to consistently double my income in the past 3 years. And I'm going to be sharing some of the success secrets and tips with you that I have discovered on my journey to success. Because I really believe that business is about, it's one of the paths of soul growth, right? Because it's about who you need to be in order to achieve the success in business that we're all looking for. So I'm really honored to have later on in the broadcast, my online business manager, Rhonda Wall of VA Village, is going to be joining me, and she is a member of my team who contributes her brilliance and helps me to keep my sanity every day, and she brings her own brilliance to what I do. And success is not a one-person thing, right? We'll be talking a lot about that as well. There will be a point where we will have questions, and we will allow you to ask your questions, and we will answer them to the best of our ability. So, and there's also a chat box there, so if you feel free to leave comments and put your questions in as they come up, because sometimes, you know, something might come to mind and you're like, oh gosh, I forgot, when it comes down to the Q&A time. So don't wait till the end to ask your questions. Go ahead and just put them in the chat box as they come up for you. We also love to hear your insights, your ahas, and your celebrations as we go through this process. So I am going to share my screen with you and start the slides. And let's see, bring that up. Alrighty, so I love technology. It allows us to do all this neat stuff. And then sometimes it challenges us as well, right? So here we are, Unstoppable Success, creating a clear plan of action for a profitable 2015. So I should probably tell you a little bit about me, because some of you are not familiar with me and who I am. And as I said, my name is Helen Macmillan. My business is Helen Macmillan Coaching. And I call myself, I do personal development and business success coaching for women business owners. And I have been in business myself for about over 25 years. My goodness, time flies. I was fortunate enough to be grandfathered into the world of entrepreneurship, because my parents started their first business when I was 10 years old. And it was a real estate company. And so I got to learn about starting a business from the inside, and I was not always very happy about it, because at 10, I'd really rather have been playing with my friends and knocking on people's gates asking, is this house for rent or for sale? So over the years, though, in hindsight is a wonderful thing, because as I look back, I learned so much. And a lot of it I didn't really appreciate till I was an adult and was in my own business. But over the years, so my first business was called Healing Hands, and it was a physical therapy private practice, which over 15 years evolved into a complementary wellness center. And I had learned the value of education from my parents, so I was always, and in the profession of physical therapy, we have to do continuing education to renew your license every 2 years. So I was in the habit of investing in and continually educating myself, which was a fantastic thing. So I became a coach about 6 years ago, but in hindsight, I'd been coaching my whole life. I was always a physical therapist who dealt with the whole being, so I was always talking to my patients even as I was treating them, and so working with them very holistically. So in looking back in hindsight, I was like, wow. As I was redoing my website actually earlier this year, the About Me page, and I was talking to my the person who was helping me with the copy, and we were talking about my story. I was like, oh my gosh, I've pretty much always been unstoppable. I just didn't realize it. And it's really about what exactly does that even mean, right? So, like, what does it mean to be unstoppable? And then what is unstoppable success? So for me, being unstoppable means that when I hit an obstacle, when when life throws me a curveball, when I get hit down, I get back up. I lick my wounds, and life gave me plenty of those. My first major one probably was being when I lost my sister in a car accident when I was 19, and we were only 14 months apart, so it was quite a shock and a loss to my system. And there are times 32, 33 years later, I still have moments where I still feel the loss, which is always surprising to me. Anyway, so so I realized though that I've gone through that. I've been divorced. My first marriage ended quite early when I was 27 years old, and I was a single parent with 2 young children under the age of 2, and it was around the same time that I started my first business. So believe me, the journey has been of what I come to realize is that all of these challenges are really just what helps us to grow, and it really helps us to understand who we are as human beings, and business is a beautiful avenue for that. So what is unstoppable success? It is the consistent, sustainable accomplishment of your desires in a state of flow, ease, and joy. And this state of flow, ease, and joy is what I have termed the $1 million zone. Because, those of you who are familiar with the law of attraction, or even just with experiencing when you get up on the wrong side of the bed, the day just seems to usually go downhill after that, unless you consciously turn it around. And you know that when you are in a state of joy and ease and flow, everything seems easier. It's easier to accomplish whatever you're trying to do. So this unstoppable success is really the consistent, sustainable accomplishment of what it is you want, your desires or your goals, in a state of flow, ease, and joy. And I actually do have an easy button from Staples, and I love to press it. So what are some of the common ways that people sabotage their success? And believe me, I have learned this personally. I have made every one of these mistakes. So the first thing is that they don't clarify their goals and dreams. So in other words, they're not specific or measurable. And because the part of the problem is that when we're too general or too vague, then how do you know, or when it's not measurable, how do you know when you've accomplished it? The second thing, and this I see actually in women even more than men, is that we try to do it alone. And it often leads to overwhelm. It's so interesting. The more that you are taught to be, we're educated, we're conditioned to be successful, and part of that success is that you become independent and you can do it on your own and you can make your way in life. And we sometimes fall into the trap that we do things alone. We try to do it alone. And if you look around you, nothing that anybody ever accomplished was actually done alone, even when it looks that way. The third thing is that you try to do too much at once. And so it splits your focus. And everything is energy. So even if you think in terms of money. If you have a set amount of money to spend, if you have $100, and you can split that $100 up into a dollar, into dollar bills. You can split it up even into quarters or dimes or pennies, and you'll have a lot, but it won't. The value and what a penny can buy you is very different than what $100 can buy you. The fourth thing is that you don't make a solid plan. So there's no clear focus. And oh my gosh, have I lived this one. If you don't have a clear focus, it's so much easier to get into overwhelm as well, because you're trying to do everything at once, and you get overwhelmed, and so you do nothing. Can anyone relate to that? The fifth way that I commonly have sabotaged and see my clients sabotage their success is that they don't refer to the plan. And I must say, this is where I still am strengthening my learning curve here, in referring to the plan. Because when you don't, then you lose track, you get off, and if you're like me, I get sidetracked by bright, shiny objects all the time, and I'm like, ooh, and before I know it, I've gone down what I call a rabbit hole. and I've lost my focus, and therefore lose track, and before I know it, I'm not as successful as I wanted to be. So what are some of the things I've learned? Most important thing is about getting clear on what it is you desire. And I'm going to take you through a little process in a little while where you'll actually get to do this. Hopefully you downloaded the PDF files that were sent to you in an email about an hour ago before we started. And if you haven't, then grab that really quick. The second thing is getting clear on why you want it. And the why is really important, especially in creating sustainable success. Because if you don't know why you're doing something, and if you don't have a big enough why, then when the inevitable challenges come, it's really easy for you to get stopped. And so if your why it's got to be big enough and powerful enough that you will keep going in spite of challenges, in spite of disappointments, because life does happen, doesn't it? And it's very rarely a straight upward direct path to the success that we're looking for. And there's a reason for that, because remember, this really is a path of growing you. Okay? The third success tip is you got to make an action plan for how you will accomplish it. And sometimes you may not have all the little pieces, but you have an idea. It's like any journey. You got to know where you're starting out, and you got to know where you're want to end up, and then you can plot your course to getting there. And that's what the plan is. So a couple of things where I've fallen down, and people fall down a lot, is not breaking down the action plan into specific tasks. And honestly, this is what I see so much. This is a big piece in overwhelm. You know, one of my certifications is as a dream coach, and that's really a beautiful process of helping you to get really clear on what it is that you truly desire, and then figure out how to bring it to make it a reality. Because as we said so beautiful earlier, Marsha Reeder always says, a dream without a plan is a fantasy. So it's about making the action plan and breaking it down into specific tasks, and then focusing on those one tasks. So the big plan is the big picture, but then you've got to break that down and say, okay, now what are the steps that I'm going to take to get there? The other piece that is really vital is scheduling your tasks. If it's not on your schedule, chances are it's not going to get done. It's not going to fit in. And so often, you know, in my own previous business, oh my gosh, I burned out several times because I was busy giving. I love to serve, but I wasn't serving me as equally as powerfully as I was serving my clients. And I wasn't creating a space. I didn't love, the truth is, and look, in hindsight is a wonderful thing. I didn't love myself enough. I did not love myself enough to include myself, to treat myself with the same kindness and concern and care as I did others. And as women, many of us are actually conditioned that way too. So a huge part of being successful is creating space in your plan, in your day, in your life for the things that matter. Putting things like scheduling your downtime and vacations is also very, very key. And getting that on your schedule. One of the things, honestly, that has been so transformational for me is having that, is creating a plan so that I feel like I'm ahead. I'm not always like a day late and a dollar short. One of the consequences of not planning before and sticking to a plan, because truthfully I was not taught how, that's the bottom line, was that I always felt like I was always trying to catch up. I was always behind the 8 ball. And so being able to have a plan and stick to it, I'm way more organized. In 2000, I was just looking back, it's so great. This plan, this visioning we're going to do is a wonderful tool, because you get to track it and then look back in a few years and you can really see how much you've shifted and grown and what has changed for you. And in 2012, up to that point, pretty much my vacations were tacked on to the back of some working trip, usually, or it was the working trip, and I was fooling myself and calling that a vacation. As I improved in 2013, I actually, in the summer when my son was off, we actually did a daycation with some friends where we went to West Virginia for the day, and we had a daycation that summer, and then this year we actually, as a family, went to Jamaica, to Negril, for a week and did nothing but relax and have a true vacation. And that is one of the, it's a huge success for me when I look back at my year, putting that time in for me. Just for me. In 2013, actually, as well, I did go on a retreat that was just for me. Nothing to do with work and learning, because before that, all of my trips, I travel a lot and I have a lot of fun, but it took me a while to see that was great, but it wasn't just do nothing time for me. So that's really important, to start to create that, and that's what's possible as you start to create a plan. And then the final success tip I want to share with you today has been huge for me as well, which is investing in getting help. And first of all, you have to admit that you need help. You have to open yourself to receive help. And it takes a great deal of strength to admit and be vulnerable enough to be open and say, you know what, I'm not doing such a good job around this. I know I should do better. I know better, but I'm just not doing it. And so many of us are brilliant at helping others to accomplish the very thing that we are struggling with ourselves. And so sometimes you really have to be willing to feel that, admit that, drop into it, and then open and invest in getting some help. So let's talk about the plan, because the dream without the plan is a fantasy. Sometimes some people actually have to start with the dream, right? Because it's like when you ask, what do you want? You don't know. For me, that was many years that was the case with me, because I'd actually stopped dreaming. Or I would dream, but I'd only dream so big and no bigger. So it's been a process of actually expanding myself and being with mentors who introduced me to my big self, as I call it. And so I'm able to call in bigger and bigger things for myself and play on a different playing field, and really understand, coming into an understanding of who I am, and owning that unapologetically. So just a recap, the top 3 things that have really allowed me to double my income and to become unstoppable in my success is learning to create a clear plan, to have a vision, and then to create a clear plan for how I'm going to make that vision a reality. The other huge thing I had to do was shift my relationship with money. Because if we're talking about business and about profit, right? Remember, the only reason to be in business, the number one reason, not the only, the number one reason to be in business is to make money. Other than that, you can have a charity or you can volunteer your time. But if you are, and I've met so many entrepreneurs who actually are in denial. And for me, that was the case with my second business, because I burned out in my first business. In my second business, for a long time, I was straddling. I was doing my physical therapy jobs, and then I started my coaching practice, and I was doing both, and I was straddling both worlds. And truthfully, for a long time, my coaching business was a very lovely, expensive hobby. I had systems and structures in place, because I'd learned that in my first business, and I know you can run a business for 15 years and not know exactly how much money you make. So that's a whole nother story for another time. But a third thing also is investing in getting the help I need and admitting. So I learned my mentors challenged me to be consistent, to show up, and to play bigger, and to create the plan. And the plan allows me to, and it will allow you to be more organized, and to get more consistent income. I think that was probably the biggest thing that the plan allowed for, is if you distill everything down and say what's the biggest outcome of having a clear plan of action that you take action on, is the consistent income, which on every level, because I was more organized, because I had more consistent income, decreased my stress levels tremendously and increased my joy levels tremendously. So let's talk a little bit about how we're going to do that, how you're going to do that for now. So what I want you to do is I want you to pull out your end of year ritual that hopefully you've printed off, and I want you to get it out now and make sure you have a pen and paper, because we're actually going to do this, because there's a lot of times we tell ourselves, I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a minute so we can talk to each other. And okay, let's see. Getting there. Here I am. So pull out your end of year ritual, and you've got your pen, and just put them aside, have them there, but I want you to close your eyes for a minute. And if you're one of these people who has a hard time closing your eyes, just do it anyway. Hopefully, as long as you're not driving, by the way, and hopefully you're not listening to this and driving. But if you are, then I would say pull over. But if you're sitting somewhere and I want you to take a moment and just close your eyes and take a nice deep breath. In through your nose and out through your mouth. And I want you to drop into your body, like come fully present in your body in this moment in space and time. Just give yourself permission to be fully present. Let everything go that came before this, everything that's coming after this. Just for this moment, be fully present with yourself in your body. And use your breath to help you get there. So breathe in deeply. Feel the parts of you that expand as you breathe in, and then exhale, whew, and just let it go. Okay. Keep your eyes closed. And I want you to think about what's happened this month, December. Let it just come to you. What are you grateful for that has happened recently? Little things, big things, personal things, professional things. So I honor with gratitude and appreciation all that has happened for me this year. And I want you to write down everything you remember that happened in December. And then walking back, because it's always easier to walk back through your year. It's easiest to remember what happened today than even what happened yesterday. Unless you have Alzheimer's. That's a different story. Then you might remember what happened 50 years ago easier than what happened 2 minutes ago. But I'm trusting that none of you have Alzheimer's. So just walk yourself back and allow yourself to be present with what happened. And just open your eyes and jot that down. And then write down what are the things that, what were your successes and your wins and the things you're grateful and thankful for in November. What happened in November? What did you accomplish? What did you achieve? What happened? You're not overthinking this. I want you to just put down what comes to mind. Where were you in November? What were you doing? What was happening? Which clients came in? What money came in? What was happening around you? And then October. Ask yourself, what happened? What am I grateful and thankful for in October? So I'm going to give you a few minutes because I don't want you to overthink it. Oftentimes, our brain can really get in the way when we overthink something. Okay? So I'm going to time. I'm going to give you 5 minutes to work on this. Taking walking back through the year. I want you to try and at least have one thing in each month. You might have more than one, but at least one. Remember, don't overthink it. Deep breath, allow yourself to remember. Don't start at January and come forward. Start from here and walk backwards. Much easier to remember. Part of the beauty of this process is learning from what's happened, right? So as you walk back through the year, you're looking at your successes. What worked really well? What went well this year? It's so easy to get caught up in the things that didn't go well. And there's value in all of those things. But for right now, you're looking at what are your personal and business successes for this year, month by month. Got about a minute left, so if you're not, don't get stuck on any month. Put in what you remember. And if you're having a hard time remembering, then it might be a practice you'd want to include in 2015 is keeping a gratitude and success journal, which is where you write down your wins and things you're grateful for and your successes on a daily basis. Because when you celebrate, the universe sends you more things to celebrate. Alrighty. So we're going to move on to the next one. And you can always go back and fill this in for yourself because it's really important to get it down and keep this so that you can next year you'll look back and you'll have a record of what did I accomplish? Where was I then compared to where I am now? Because the only person you ever need to compare yourself to is you. Okay. So, great. Now, what was your biggest challenge in 2014? I want you to write that down. What was your biggest challenge in 2014? Don't overthink it. First thing that comes to mind. And then the next question, what did it or they teach you? Either about yourself, about life, about business, about something else. What did you learn from it? Yeah. So every experience teaches us something, right? I just got a comment in, oh my gosh, this is harder than I thought. Yeah. Yeah. Only because it's not a consistent focus for you. But as you learn, that's part of becoming unstoppable, because the thing is that when you are on a journey, especially if you've got a big vision, if you're building a big business and you're starting from scratch, or you have your vision is to build a multi-six-figure or seven-figure or multi-seven-figure business, then that occurs usually over time. And it can be real easy to think you're not making any headway if you don't take the time to celebrate the small successes, the small wins. Okay? That's part of being unstoppable. That's part of sustaining your success, is you've got to track that. So what did it teach you? And the whole point of this, looking at your challenge and seeing what you learned for it, is really understanding, how do I grow from this? And that you don't feel like a victim, like, oh my gosh, I'm the only one. And you really understand that everything is here to serve you. Okay, so when we talk about being profitable for 2015, now we got to talk about money. Yay! One of my favorite things to talk about. Wasn't always that way. When I was raised, it was kind of crass to talk about money, and so healing my relationship with money has been one of my as I said earlier, shifting in my relationship with money. Even just coming to understand that I had a relationship with money was huge for me. And then changing that relationship with money has been a huge part of being able to bring more in and feel more comfortable talking about it, asking for it. If you are in business, you better be able to have the money conversation. You have to be able to look at your numbers. That's part of your plan. How much money do you want to make in your business? And then you work backwards. Well, how many clients do I need to have? What kind of lifestyle do I want? See, so the clarity is one of the things that comes first. So I want you to take a minute and just list, what are your current sources of income, right? Is your business your sole source of income? Do you have a spouse that contributes? Do you have a job? Some of us call the job the business loan, right? Because it certainly, you have to have a way to fund your dream and fund your business, right? Maybe you have investments. Your parents, depending on your age, you may have an inheritance, right? So I want you to really, and why is this important? Because sometimes we fall into the trap of thinking and feeling less than abundant because we forget and we haven't looked at all our streams of income, streams of revenue, all the ways that money is coming to us. And we're not counting that. So it's very easy, especially if you're early in your business, because most businesses are not profitable in the first year. So if you're in the first or maybe even second year of business, some businesses are not profitable for many, many years. But it is, you have a stream because you're living. And oftentimes we're so focused on what we're not making, and we forget that we have other streams of income because we are living, and most times living quite well, thank you. Okay? So as you put your streams of income there, now the next thing is you want to look at is what would have to happen? Ask yourself, what would have to happen in 2015 for me to consider it a huge success? What would have to, and be as specific as you can, right? Remember, I talked earlier about one of the ways that we sabotage our success is being vague about the goals that we set. And sometimes we don't want to get too specific because we're afraid if we'll be disappointed if it doesn't happen. But what would have to happen for you, not for your parents to think you were successful, not for society to think you're successful, because to really, part of the $1 million zone is it's a very unique thing to you, right? Because what would make me happy is not necessarily what will make you happy. So I want you to be looking at what is it. Be specific. Then you're going to list 3 personal goals for 2015. And I'm going to push through this because if you have the answers there, but I want you to really sit with this afterwards and take time to think about this. And if you haven't thought about it, I want you to give the favor of and honor yourself enough to sit with this and let yourself really think, what is it that I want? What are my 3 personal goals for 2015, and what are 3 business goals for 2015? This becomes part of how all of this is going to shape and impact your plan. Okay? Then you're going to pick an income goal for 2015. How much do you want to earn? What do you want your life to look like? How many hours a week do you want to work? And if you're in a job or you've got your business set up in a way right now that is not serving you, then that's part of how you're going to shift that. What would it look like? What would it need to look like for it to work for you? And I want to say that depending on where you are in your business, this is part of the problem when we kind of try to compare ourselves to other people, right? Because if you oftentimes we're looking on for the outside and we're like, wow, that person looks like they're doing really great in their business, and wow, they look so successful. Well, first of all, just because somebody has a six-figure business does not mean that they are keeping that six figures. Okay? That might be gross. You can have a six-figure business and you can be in the red, right? You're not running a profit. So the thing is for you is to make a plan that works for you. You know, you can't compare your business to one being. If you have a family and you have young children, right? Your goals might be very different than someone who is running a business and is single or has a spouse, right? So you want to take your whole life into account when you are making your plan. But again, the dream without the plan is the fantasy. So you've got to get it down and you've got to get it on paper. So some of the things I want you to think about are what do you need once you've set those goals for yourself. Then I want you to seriously sit with yourself and ask yourself honestly, what do you need to let go of or stop doing in order to achieve this goal? The answers are already inside of you. You know what you're doing. You might pretend you don't know, right? But on some level, you know. And if you don't, if you really can't figure it out, that's where a mentor or a mastermind buddy or your family sometimes will be happy to tell you what it is you're doing that you can't see. And then the last thing, well, the second to last thing is, what do you need to start doing or do more of to help you achieve the goal? And so now we got to talk a little bit about commitment, right? Because so many of us sit around and we go, wow, I really want to do X, Y, and Z. I really want to make, you know, six figures in my business. And yet you're not taking the actions that are aligned with that. You're not prepared to do what it takes in order to do that. So sometimes we think we're committed, and what happens is you take some steps, and then you go, I don't want to do that. I can't be bothered. Or that's too hard. And what it tells you is just information, right? It tells you that maybe you're not as committed as you thought. And then you have a conversation with yourself, and you decide you're either going to change the plan or you're going to commit deeper. And that's a really important distinction to make, okay? Lastly, I want you to choose 3 words that describe how you want to be in 2015. How do you want to be? Okay, because who you're being in your business is actually as important, if not more important, than what you're doing. Okay? Who you are being is as important. All right, so I want to bring in Rhonda Wall, my online business manager. And Rhonda is going to share with you a fantastic tool that she has for you, that she's created just for you well, she'll tell you all about it. So let's switch back here. And Rhonda, I think you're muted. You might need to unmute yourself.
Yeah, I was muted.
Hi. Thank you so much.
Hi. Thank you so much. Yeah, I enjoyed the exercise. I'm going through it. I've seen on the comments others are going through the exercise and really enjoying it. So that's great. So hopefully you guys have gone through the worksheet, and I know you'll work on it more when we get done here. But I also I want to share with you something that I put together for you guys that you should have gotten in your email today. So open that up, and that's the monthly planner. And this is basically, I was going to give you guys like segments of stuff, and I thought, no, I just kept on and kept on and kept on building this. And I was like, these are things that I go through with my, my personal clients that help them get organized, and is what we use to actually plan their goals and make sure that we're reaching those goals and things are getting done throughout the year, so that we are getting the goals done. So this is what I actually go through with clients in different places, but I wanted to have something for you guys to have it all together in one place. So this is what I developed for you guys. So I'm going to share my screen right quick, and we'll go through it, and I'm just going to give you an overview. You don't have to fill it out right now on the call or anything, but I want to give you an overview of what it's about and how to use it and how it can be really valuable to you. So I am sharing my screen here, and I trust you guys can see it.
Yep, we can.
Okay, great. So the first thing that you want to do is kind of what I call like just a mind purge. So this first worksheet in the workbook, and you can see the tabs down on the very bottom. I color-coded them for you guys so that you could tell where the tabs were, but we're on the first tab, the goals and ideas. So this is just a mind purge, and you can fill this in any way you want to. And what I would suggest too is if you use like Google Docs, then just take this Excel sheet and upload it to Google Docs, and then you'll have it there, and you can share it with your team members, and everyone can, know what the goals are, what the plans are for the year, and everybody can stay on the same page too. So that'll help. But just go through and just put down what your goals are. Short-term goals, long-term goals, even if they aren't goals for this year, if they're just goals in general. That you do want to achieve. Even if you don't achieve that goal completely this year, you can still be working towards it. So put it on there. So list all your goals out across. And then what I want you to do is below each goal, then type in what it is that you feel like you need to do in order to reach that goal. So for example, I have on here increase income. So in order to increase income, you may need to acquire one new client a month. That would increase your income a little. Or maybe you want to go bigger and get 5 clients a month. Whatever it is, whatever you feel like is what you need in order to achieve your goal, and whatever your income goal is for the year. And you just did the sheet with Helen. So based on what your goal is, as far as what you want your income to be by the end of 2015, then you need to figure out, what does that look like? How many new clients do I need? How many, of my services or my products or whatever it is do I need to sell in order to reach that goal per month? And break it down per month, and then it's a lot easier to see instead of it one big number. So if it's broken down monthly, you can see, for me, most of the time, if I just acquire one new client a month, that would increase my income quite a bit over a year. And one new client a month seems pretty easy. So I know I can achieve that goal. So I just list things out. So maybe create 2 new ebooks to sell, or host a live local event, whatever. And so then if my next goal was like launching a coaching program, then I may start working on the outline for that program. Create an opt-in page for people to opt in that might be interested in that coaching program. Increasing my social media engagement so people know who I am. So you kind of get the idea of what that is. So you can delete all of this stuff out of here. I just wanted to give you some things that you could look at and see as examples of things that you could put on there to reach certain goals. But put your goals on there, and then your ideas of how you can achieve those goals for the year. So that's what I do to begin with clients, is kind of that mind merge. So you just kind of put everything out there and get it all out of your head and onto paper so you can actually look at it. Then the next step would be to actually do like an overview. So this overview has to do with planning for the year. So you can see on this next sheet I have your months mapped out. So you have January through December, and you can scroll it over and see all the way to December. And I start by simply just putting in holidays. So all the holidays are the same every year, so we know there's going to be certain holidays. So put that in first so you can plan around the holidays. Then I would go to any product launches that you have planned for whatever month, put that on there. If you're going to attend any events or trade shows in any months and you already know that, go ahead and put that on there, because these are things that are already set and you need to plan around them. So if you're going to do a product launch, or you want to start doing some promotional material for something that you're doing, then you know you need to start planning for that. Or if you're going to attend a conference, then you know you need to start planning for collecting leads and what you're going to do to network and all of that kind of stuff. So get kind of those things that are already set in there. Also put your vacations in there. Anytime you're going to take a vacation, so that you know not to plan a lot of heavy stuff around that time, so that you don't get overwhelmed. Then the next piece would be your goals overview. So here you want to just list some of your goals that you want to achieve, and then put in, this is where you're going to break it down into months. So these goals that we put over here on the goals and ideas, we can take some of them and move them over here, and then put in some different things that we're going to do each month to reach that goal. So that's putting things kind of in perspective. And then you can also put your personal goals on here as well. So if you want to have, we all want to spend more time with our family, because a lot of times being entrepreneurs, our work takes us away from our family, and we're working all the time and around the clock, it seems like, or taking time for yourself. Then put in some things that you'll need to do each month that's helping you achieve that goal too. So then the last part, it's actually putting everything into action. This is your monthly planner, and this is what is actually going to get done, who's going to do it, when it's due, what the status is on it. So if I was going to do like a New Year's cleanse, if I was a health coach, then I would need to create an outline for it. I'd need an opt-in page. I'd need to set up some email follow-ups that go out to people who sign up for my New Year's cleanse. And then I would need due dates on there, when I need to have it done so that I can put it up, and then who's responsible for getting that done, and then what the status is on it, and then any comments around that. So you can do that for each month, and then I have on here where you can put in different things for each month too. So maybe you have a New Year cleanse, and then you have a webinar, and you would do the same thing. So this helps you really drill down to actually getting those things done that you have planned out on your events and your goals page and your goals and your ideas page. And this is actually like your project management page. So this is where you would drill down and really get into managing those projects that you're going to do every month that's helping you achieve your goals. And then you can go back, once a month or once a quarter, and go back and look at these goals and see which ones have you actually achieved already, and which ones are you getting closer to achieving, and all of that. And that goes along with reflecting on that success. So this can be part of that tracking of what you've achieved each year and accomplished each month and all throughout the year, so that you can be grateful for all of that all year long. So that's my sheet, and if you have questions, feel free to leave it in the comments, and I'll answer them for you if you have comments about the sheet. But I just wanted to give you an overview of how to use this sheet, and it can be very useful. It's basically all of this. I don't usually have it in one place, but now that I do, I might use it myself now. But usually I have this as like I have a project management system that I put things in, and then I go over things with clients. But this is all in one place for you guys, so you can use it without, skipping around to different systems and things like that. So that's an easy way to do that.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop the screen share. There we go. So
Awesome.
I'm back.
Thank you. That was awesome, and a fantastic tool. So they can just download that tool and go ahead and plug in. Once they've finished the first worksheet, they'll have a lot of those goals formulated, and then just plug them in and then be able to figure out the tasks.
Exactly. And I have an easy button too, Helen. So when they get done, then they can...
That was easy.
They can push their easy button.
We're all about creating joy and ease, right?
Exactly, exactly.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I'm just going to hop back over to to these slides again. So thank you, Rhonda. And where, if they wanted to ask you a question or if they were interested in getting some support.
They can ask me questions here in the comments. I'll definitely answer them, and I'm on Facebook as well. You guys can visit me at vavillage.com, and I do a free call, so I could do a free 30-minute call with you guys if you need some help kind of getting some strategy for the new year. So vavillage.com.
Absolutely wonderful. So, you know, as we said, you're really it's about who you're being in your business, and I think being comes first, right? As we know, it's who you're being. Are you being consistent? Are you being unstoppable? Are you being are you willing to grow? Are you doing the work? Are you being open? So it is really about growing your business. You'll only ever grow your business as big as you grow yourself, right? So have you found that for yourself, Rhonda?
Oh, yeah,
Has this journey of entrepreneurship been one of personal growth, and it's almost like as your business gets bigger, you have to get bigger. You have to be the container to facilitate more clients, more money, more employees, right? So it's really all about you. And honestly, what you know, you're far more likely to achieve a goal if you clarify what it looks like and break it down into the action steps that you need to do to achieve it, right? And then once you have the plan, you know exactly what you should be focusing on at any given time. It's so cool. You're like, okay, and what you're focusing on in your first year of business is different than what you're focusing on in your third year of business. When you're focusing on, you know, initially it's all about laying the foundations, right? And putting certain things in place. So what's the unstoppable success formula? First comes clarity, right? Then a plan. So clarity is like you got to get clear on what it is you want, what kind of business model you want, how much income you want, how you want to be doing this, how many clients do you need in order to do that. Then the plan, how am I going to get that? Okay? And then you have to take consistent, focused action. Because believe me, I have tried, I've laid down, I've tried to pray it and wish it into my life. And while I believe that visualization is very, very key, and being able to see it is helpful, there is no substitute. People, I've tried this, I wish I could tell you. There is no substitute for taking consistent, focused action. And one of the biggest blessings one of my first mentors, Suzanne Evans, gave me was she said, you're too damn inconsistent. And she was absolutely right. And that's the power of a mentor, because they can help you see what you refuse to or are not able to see in yourself. So let's talk a little bit about, now that you've, you know, got clear, once you get clear on what it is you want, why you want it, and you create a specific plan for how you're going to achieve it, awesome. So the next piece is staying in action consistently, and so that you can actually execute the plan. Because here's the thing, life does get in the way, right? And the best laid plans it's amazing. So it is. I was telling Rhonda a story earlier today about myself, and just before this, this is a. Let me come back present so I can tell you the story. Is that, you know, a couple of minutes before I decided, you know, I was going to light a nice fire, and it's a cold day here in the north where I live in Maryland, and. So I said I'd light a little fire, and so about 45 minutes before we were set to start, I lit the fire. And those of you who don't know, I'm originally from Jamaica, so I grew up, I didn't grow up with fireplaces and winter. So we have a lovely wood-burning fireplace, and I sometimes forget to open the flue. So I had lit the bag and forgot to open the flue, and the smoke started coming across. Oh, and I quickly opened the flue. And went and opened some windows and stuff, and in a few minutes the smoke detector started going off, and the noise, I don't know if you're from, it's very shrill. It's like my son, who is home sick today from school, I was like, oh, you fan the one upstairs, I'll fan the one down here, and we're trying to clear the smoke and to shut it off, and it goes off, and then a few seconds later it comes back on. And so I open all the windows, I open the front door, and I'm just like major panic. Everything in my being is and I can't figure out why they keep going off. So it would go off for a few seconds, and then bam, it was right back on. So then I thought, well, my goodness, maybe there's a fire somewhere else and I'm not aware. So I get on the phone and I call 911, and I said my fire alarm detectors keep going off, and I can't figure out. And I'm talking to the lady, and all the windows are open. My son is cussing because he's like, "There's smoke in the house," and all I can think is, "Oh my God, I've got to be on a live stream in a half an hour." And I'm just imagining, you know, here come the fire department and my all this stuff, and in that moment, I knelt down and I said, let me look in the fireplace. And when I looked, the flue was closed. I don't know how it had closed again, but it had closed. And so I opened it and said to the lady on the phone, it's okay. You don't need to send the fire department. So why am I telling you this story? It just epitomizes and demonstrates exactly what we've been talking about, right? Life happens. So it's real easy. And I can tell you that at an earlier point in my life, I'd be like, oh, I don't think I'm supposed to do this live stream today. This maybe I should, you know, just cancel it, right? But being unstoppable means you find a way. Being committed means you find a way. So even if the fire department had to show up, I would have found a way to be here and to be present. And it's having that level of commitment and being able to develop that inside of yourself, and that truly is a state of being. And so it's about being able to shift into that place and to come from that place, because when you are in your million-dollar zone, when you develop this ability within yourself to be able to shift on a dime, when you get up and you're having a bad day, how do you serve your clients? How do you run your business and take care of your family and do life in the process? And I've developed a 5-step system which I teach. It's a unique process, and it takes you quickly from overwhelm and confusion to clarity to inspired action, to help you to work with the energy system of your body so that you actually are able to make decisions, better decisions, faster decisions, to come into a place of groundedness, which is where we innovate from, where we create from, and your brain actually operates more efficiently. So there's one of the things we have to manage is self-doubt and fear. Yeah, we have to learn tools for that. Those are some of the things that I teach my clients, things that I've learned and practiced myself over the years. I still have to use it. Don't think that because you achieve a certain level of success, every time you expand, every time you go to the next level, you've got to handle your stuff again at that level. So this is part of becoming unstoppable. You also will learn the fundamental elements. So I teach this shift into your million-dollar zone. I've had lots of people go through it with me. I usually do it live here in Maryland. And in January, I'm so thrilled to announce that we're going to be doing it virtually for all those people all over the world who maybe not be able to leave for whatever reason and fly in to Maryland to be able to experience this. Now you can do it live. And we're going to be doing it on Saturday, January 17th. And it'll work from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And we will have a lunch break, and we'll have different breaks in the day. And if you go to www.yourmilliondollarzone.com/virtual-workshop, you see the link there up on your screen now. You can go ahead and register today for $97. You will walk away. You can read more about it on that page and see exactly what it is involved, and some of the the experiences of some people who have who've worked with me before and who've taken this stuff before. If you go there now, and I always like to inspire. I don't believe in the fire sale, although we could have one today.
Complete with the fire department.
In honor of the fire department.
See, that's what you could have done. You could have just shifted, and if the fire department had been there, then you could have just called it a fire sale.
Fire sale, exactly. So,
And you guys too, you probably have a blue button that's on your screen too. You can just click that blue button if you want to head over there. That's my kind of event, Helen, one that I can do in my pajamas.
Yes.
From the comfort of my home. And I know too, when I do these types of workshops, you know, a lot of people get you to do something silly sometimes, like, you know, you might be closing your eyes and holding your hands out and making funny faces to get through some stuff. I'd rather do that in the comfort of my own living room.
And off camera, right?
Yeah, exactly, and off camera, even though I have done some silly things on camera. But
yes.
I love it. That's why I love virtual events, because you can do it more comfortable. Just like today, you guys see me looking nice, but I actually have on my yoga pants.
Awesome. Well, I dressed up just for you all, although I've been known to dress up and just walk around my house too.
Yes, you are. You're always there and together. But yeah, that's one of the things, and it's hard for everybody. And I've been in business for about 10 years now, and you can have those days where you get up and things just aren't working for you for whatever reason. Things aren't going right. You've got, you know, I've had clients mad at me, present company included. I've dropped balls and things just not work out. And then you sit back and you think, okay, what's wrong here? Am I just not meant to do this? Am I just losing it? You know, what is it? And most of the time I find I blow it all out of proportion into, you know, oh, I'm not meant to do this. I shouldn't be an online business manager. I can't keep things straight. Oh, I messed this up. I'm terrible. To just, you know, taking a step back and, you know, having the pleasure to work with you. I've learned there's ways you can shift that energy so that it doesn't ruin your whole day. Because if I stay there in the space of I'm not meant to do this, I dropped a ball, I did this wrong, or, you know, I didn't keep up with this, or I just, you know, don't feel motivated today, or whatever, then it's just going to keep on. But that's one of the great things about the work that you do, and I've seen it since we've been working together for a couple of years now, is being able to kind of shift out of what I call that funk and get back into, because for me, I'm a very motivated person. So if I'm having a day where I feel like, I just want to sit here and play Candy Crush and watch TV all day, even though I know I got work piling up, and I'm like, why do I feel that way? You know, that's not me. I'm a motivated person. And being able to have those tools to make that shift when you need to, because if I didn't make that shift, then everything's going to get behind, and then it's just going to compile and compile and compile, and it's going to be a big mess. So you got to really have those tools to like quickly make that shift.
Yeah, it's a really vital, that the mindset piece is huge, and to be able to manage your mindset, to be able to manage your emotions, it's a great tool for managing your emotional and energetic state. And so, it works on so many levels, right? And it carries over both, because especially as women entrepreneurs, you know, I think it's a little different from men. I think men have an easier time compartmentalizing the different parts of their life. You know, if something's really off in one part of our life, it bleeds into much more quickly into the other aspects of our life. So being able to, you know, have an argument with your teenage son, for example.
Yeah, I have two of those, I understand.
and then be able to shift yourself. You know, you need to be able to shift from that state of being and ground and come centered, so, you know, and have that sales conversation with your client, or be able to step into an appointment with your client and serve them. It is really, really can make all the difference in the world between being in business successfully and joyfully, and learning
Right.
we got to have these tools in our back pocket, and this one is really hugely transformational. Being able to
Right. I know before I met you and found out that, hey, oh, there's this such thing as having joy and ease in being in business. Oh my goodness, you got to be kidding me, be kidding me.
yeah,
Because I always thought if I wasn't feeling that anxiety and that stress feeling that I constantly felt from the time I started my business, then there was something wrong.
yeah,
I wasn't doing something right. Maybe I wasn't working hard enough, or I wasn't doing something right if I wasn't constantly feeling that stress feeling.
yeah.
And so that's one of the things after meeting you, I found out, oh, wow, you can really have ease in your business and joy around it. I mean, that's awesome. Because, I mean, as entrepreneurs, we get into business because we want to serve people or help people. We want to spend more time with our family. We want all these things that we said we wanted to do. A lot of times fall by the wayside. We end up working and not spending much time with our family. We end up stressed out and miserable and overwhelmed and wondering why in the world did we decide to do this. So that is just so important to get back to really, and you can have that, and I know because I get the benefit of working with Helen every day, so it's awesome.
So here's what I
And
wanted. I'm feeling like I would love. I'm inspired in this moment because there are these wonderful souls who have been with us this whole time today.
I know.
Time out of their in the middle of their day to come and hear this, and I hope each one of you have been served because the information that Rhonda shared, that it's all really vital information, and of course the information I shared as well is really powerful. So we hope that you will actually take action on those forms and complete them for yourself, because remember, you got to take the action. That's what it boils down to in the end. So I want to offer the first 5 people who sign up for the one-day virtual workshop. I want to offer them a complimentary half-an-hour session with me, one-on-one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so I know I just sprung this on you, Rhonda. Sorry.
I can grab a link and put it in the comments because, yeah, I wasn't expecting it, but I think it's great.
Yeah. So yeah, it feels right to have a fire sale. No, it's not. It's really just a bonus, and because I love rewarding people for showing up. Part of being unstoppable is learning to show up and show up powerfully, and to show up even though you don't really know what's going to happen. It's a risk.
Right.
Every time I take my time out and I register for something and I show up, especially if you don't know the person, right?
Mm-hmm.
So here's what's possible in 30 minutes on the phone with me is a huge shift, believe it or not. Figuring out where you're stopping, maybe working on your specific plan based on where you are in your business. Those are some of the things I love to do that normally people we can do that in a VIP day as well. So if you are at that stage of your business where you feel like you need to create a specific plan for yourself and you want some hand-holding around that, and because you're not quite clear, all of these things are possible. So you can always reach out to me at helenmcmillan.com. But for the
I think that's great, and Helen can accomplish a lot in 30 minutes. Believe me, I know. I try to convince her just to do like the dominoes type thing. We will shift you in 30 minutes or less. She's not going to do that because it can't always work that way for everybody. But she can accomplish a whole lot in 30 minutes. I've experienced that myself. So yeah, that's awesome that you offer that.
Awesome. So yeah, you can be on top of that, Rhonda, in the first.
I will.
And we will email you and let you know if you're one of the first 5 and send you that link to be able to schedule that as soon as possible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we can get that in we can get that in before, even before the actual workshop. You can get it in before the end of the year if you like.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that would be good. That's a good way to even to boost this whole process even more.
Mm-hmm.
Is to have that one-on-one, someone you can bounce those things off of, and someone who can really, it really helps having another perspective. It always does. I know that, you know that, even as a coach yourself, you get other perspectives as well from other people and other sources, and it always helps to have someone from the outside looking in, because when you live with it and live with everything that you have going on, you don't see some things that someone from the outside can actually see, and see pretty quickly too, and that really helps. I know with stuff that I do and I help clients with, I'll look at my own stuff and be like, I don't even know what to do. But if it's someone else's stuff, I'm like, ideas are coming just like that.
And that's why we all have mentors, right? That's why we have, and we have people who can help us to see what we can't normally see. It's amazing though that how quickly, there's a book called A Course in Miracles, and it says a miracle is simply a shift in perception, right? So when you shift your perspective, I love to quote Wayne Dyer because it's such a powerful quote, and when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So there is power in a shift, and you can have in this process, you can have a shift in a moment, and then all those little shifts add up to a big transformation over time. So it's certainly what I have seen happen in my life, and so many of my clients. I was talking to one of my clients who went through this process earlier this week, the end of year, and just looking back at the year, and she said, wow, it didn't dawn on her till we actually did the process, how much she had accomplished this year, because we're so busy doing it, sometimes we don't value it, right? And she said it's interesting because she actually started over. She moved to a different country, a different continent even, and so she said, who would have known that? Because that this year would have been, I've been more consistent, I've been much more positive, I've been a lot happier. She said, and despite it being my lowest income earning year since the first year I started business, because she kind of literally started over again. And she was shocked because, and I mean, we were both celebrating because that when she first came to me, that was the thing. She was so she had racked up so much debt. And all she could focus on debt. She was in so much fear that she kept getting stuck. She couldn't move forward and take the actions. And the only way to get out of the action of the debt is to keep moving forward, right?
Right. You're just in a cruel cycle.
Exactly. So it's so beautiful because you can experience the joy, and this is what motivates me. A lot of people don't know, but I mean, as I mentioned earlier in the webcast, when my sister died, I mean, having lost my sister suddenly, she died in a car accident, I really understood very early how precious life is. And I spent so many years outside of my $1 million zone and worrying about and stressing about all these different things that it literally can suck the joy out of your life experience. And you're playing what I call the when-then game. When this happens, then I'll be happy. Right? When this happens, then I'll be whatever. When I achieve this goal, then I'll be happy, or then I'll allow myself to celebrate. And it's the opposite. We're doing it backwards, right?
Right.
You got to be happy now, and then you get more things to be happy about. And so I'm going to step off my soapbox now.
Yeah, I mean, it's so true though, and we all do it. We all do it, and it kind of irks me. My husband does that. I'm like, oh, I want to do this. I want to travel here. I want to do, this and this. And he's like, yeah, well, when we have this much money, we'll do it. When we have that much money, I'm like, no, we're going to do it now. And we'll do it where we're at. So if that means, like, one of our things, and this year we accomplished that in July, that was on my list when I went through the thing when you were doing it, was we took a road trip through Florida. And that was one of the things that we had said we would do when we had this amount of money or that amount of money or whatever, and thought it would take so much money.
Yeah.
And it really did. And I have a Prius, so that helped. And we just did it. We got really good hotel deals and things like that. So we made it happen. And it's one of those things, you can make it happen where you're at. If you take that leap, the world didn't crush. We didn't even end up spending as much money as we thought we would. And to invest in that and to achieve that, even though that was a vacation, that was an achievement of something that I said that I would do, and I did it. And I didn't wait and say, oh, I'll do that when this happens or when that happens or whatever. I just did it.
The thing is, so often the only thing that ever stands between us and what we want is our mind and our perception.
Right.
When I was a single parent with my children were very young, I wanted to go do this course in China, right? And this was back in 1992, I think, and it would cost $3,000 US. I was living in Jamaica at the time, and I remember I was like, okay, how am I going to pay for it? How can I afford that? That is the key. Is not saying I can't afford it. It's how can I afford it? And
right.
I sold my car. Now this is what, when you're younger, you don't I think our balls are bigger.
We're a lot more indestructive and a lot more fearless, I guess.
But I still had the same level of responsibilities. I had a business. I had 2 young children, and but you find a way. When you want to do something, you find a way, and that's being unstoppable. I sold my car. I did not know what I was going to drive when I came home. Right? But that was the way I could pay for it. My dad was actually dying at the time, and I knew, I paid for this long before, and I knew I wouldn't go. I knew I wouldn't go if he hadn't passed. Right. I always say his gift to me was that he actually passed away 2 weeks before, because it was non-refundable. It had been out the trip and out the car and out the money.
Right.
So, I literally buried him. We buried him, and a week later I left for this trip. And when I came back, people are like, well, how are you going to do that? I'm like, I don't know. What I did have was faith. I did have faith in myself.
Right.
In God. I knew I'd figure it out. That was the thing, is I had enough faith in me to know I'd figure it out. And I did. And when I came back, a friend, the same friend who bought my car, bought it for her driver to use, and he hadn't gotten his license sorted yet, so it was sitting there, and she said, well, the car is still sitting there, why don't you borrow it? So she lent me my car that she had paid me for, right? And and then a boyfriend of mine at the time owned a used car lot, and he sold me a car at cost, and so I ended up getting a car that was newer, better, bigger.
Right.
And I got to go to China and have my
right.
So it really
it's that whole reaping and sowing thing. Just like, I'm of a Christian belief, and I believe in tithing, and when I do tithe my 10%, I'm always taken care of. And it's always worked that way in my business too. When I've invested in my business and I think, oh, this is a big amount of money for me to invest somewhere, but I do it even when I travel to conferences and things like that, because I own my own business. I'm paying for that trip, and each trip can cost anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 depending on where I'm going. So, and you have to kind of step out and take that leap of faith that it is all going to work out. And I can go to a conference and not get one solid lead, or think that anything is going to come of this trip that I just spent this money on. And as soon as I get back, things just start, landing into place. That's kind of how you and I met.
Yes.
I went to the Suzanne Evans event for the very first time. I put out the money to go, and I had networked with quite a few people, you know, got some business cards, but nothing really solid. And then, but I still had a good time, and I felt like I learned a lot, so it wasn't a waste. But then in the van on the way to the airport, I meet you in the van, and you're like, okay, I need you. Here's my card. We're going to work together. So I'm like,
Yep.
okay.
And
So I got a client right here on the way to the van, but it always works out when you invest in your business and invest in yourself. It's going to work out.
Yeah, because it's all a reflection anyway, right? It's what's happening on the outside is a reflection of your beliefs and your relationship with yourself and money and stuff. So it's been very powerful. You know, a lot of the people who have gone through this process, it's been life-changing and life-transforming for me, and I'm always thrilled to see that it's not just me, right? It
Right.
is transforming for all the people who practice this, who've learned it, who've been through this process, and because when you get clear, when you give yourself permission, when you get out of your own way, when you have these tools to be able to make the shift, your whole life changes. So.
Yeah, that's a great thing about this. I work with you, so I see this stuff over and over. You know, if people ask me, oh, you get bored of seeing someone's stuff over. Yeah, some people's I do. But some people's stuff, it's just that, you know, it can be a process. Just like, you know, I went through your little process. I went through it last year too. And it's always new to me. And this like the workshop is one of those processes that every time you do it, you're opening up something new, you're learning something new, and you're getting a new tool. Even if it's the same material and the same content, which usually it's more added and stuff, but still, it's just one of those processes and one of those tools that you're just always going to get something out of, even if you've been through it before.
Yes.
And so it's very valuable.
And I teach this stuff, right? You know, they always say you teach what you most want to learn. But
exactly.
I still take myself through these processes periodically. I do this end of year process, and I love looking back and seeing what, you know, how I've shifted, because I'm continually growing and expanding myself. And
right, we have to be.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Rhonda, oh my goodness, how time flies when we're having.
Oh, wow, I know we were having a blast. I guess we better let these people get back to work, though.
Absolutely. No, not only back to work, back to getting those plans completed.
Yes.
Getting in action on them, and so that we create, it's our job. It's our job to continually evolve and be an even bigger, better, brighter version than ourselves than we were last year. So don't be afraid. I will leave people with this. Don't be afraid to dream, and dream big, and give yourself permission. Give yourself permission to invest the time, the energy, and the money in playing, exploring who you are, what you want, and go for it. Stay in action on it. Be unstoppable. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope to see you in the class, in the workshop.
Yeah, I think we have just a couple more spots left where you can get the free session with Helen.
30 minutes.
So go jump over there and get it. Only a couple of spots left. I just looked since Helen popped this on me. I wanted to make sure I was keeping up with it. So a couple of spots left to get the free session with Helen. So head on over there, and thank you guys for joining us today.
Thank you. Have a wonderful, wonderful 2015, and enjoy your season's greetings, whatever you celebrate.